The universe was vast, an endless expanse where countless stars and planets burned with a light that had been traveling for millennia. To the species that inhabited its many corners, the cosmos was an infinite playground of power, politics, and ancient secrets. Yet, to humanity, it had always been a faraway dream, a place of unreachable wonders. For centuries, humans had peered up at the night sky, wondering if the stars were simply too distant, too grand for them to ever touch. They had always been the underdogs on Earth, struggling to survive and evolve, but now, in the mid-22nd century, they had built the tools to venture beyond their home planet. Humanity's reach had extended beyond the Moon, Mars, and even the outer reaches of the solar system. But it wasn't until the discovery of an anomaly near Jupiter that their destiny truly began to unfold. It was in 2147 that Dr. Eva Maxwell, a leading astrophysicist from Earth's most advanced space research facility, first observed the strange ripple in spacetime that would change everything. What appeared to be an ordinary region of space near Jupiter turned out to be a wormhole, an interdimensional gateway to the unknown. The anomaly, hidden in plain sight for millions of years, had gone unnoticed by countless spacefaring civilizations that had passed by. The discovery of this wormhole ignited a firestorm of scientific collaboration and political maneuvering. Governments and private enterprises alike scrambled to understand the mystery, each seeking to claim control over the potential treasure trove that lay beyond. But the wormhole wasn't simply a portal to unknown worlds, it was a symbol of the universe's ultimate challenge. And it would take the combined strength, intelligence, and bravery of humanity to face it. Maxwell's team, alongside the military's brightest minds, quickly formulated a plan. It wasn't enough to simply observe the anomaly from afar. The wormhole could be humanity's gateway to the stars. The project, codenamed Ether, was born, an ambitious endeavor to build the first human vessel capable of navigating the wormhole and charting the vast unknown. Led by General Evelyn Hayes, a decorated military strategist and veteran of humanity's wars on Earth and Mars, the Ether program quickly took shape. Hayes, along with a diverse crew of scientists, engineers, and explorers, worked tirelessly on the design of a ship capable of withstanding the unknown forces that lay on the other side. The Ether was no ordinary ship, it was designed to be a symbol of human ingenuity, capable of adapting to any challenge in any environment. As construction began, there were whispers, rumors of ancient civilizations that had traversed the galaxy long before humanity ever had a chance to look up. The Nexar. These beings, said to be of pure energy and godlike in their abilities, had been the galaxy's silent watchers for millennia. They were rumored to control the fundamental forces of the universe, energy, matter, and time itself. To many, the Nexar were a myth. To others, they were an existential threat. When the Ether was finally complete, it was launched with great fanfare. General Hayes stood at the helm, ready to lead the crew through the unknown. The ship was a marvel, its sleek, advanced design shimmering in the darkness of space as it approached the wormhole's event horizon. As the Ether approached the wormhole's threshold, a deep, resonant hum filled the ship. The crew, despite their training, couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. They were not just explorers, they were pioneers on the cusp of changing everything. The journey ahead was filled with uncertainty, danger, and a fierce desire to prove that humanity belonged among the stars. Without warning, a sharp signal pulsed through the ship's systems, a warning. Something, or someone, was waiting on the other side. "Brace yourselves," General Hayes said, her voice calm yet carrying the weight of their shared mission. "We're about to meet the unknown." And as the Ether plunged into the wormhole, humanity's first true leap into the infinite began. The Ether hummed with energy as it sailed through the wormhole, its sleek form cutting through the distortion of space and time. The crew, tightly secured in their seats, felt the pull of the unknown as they plunged further into the vast expanse that awaited them. Outside the ship's reinforced windows, stars stretched and warped in impossible shapes. It was like nothing anyone had ever seen, an eerie, beautiful distortion that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. The wormhole's journey was supposed to be quick, just a few moments of disorientation before the ship would emerge on the other side. But when the Ether emerged, something was wrong. It wasn't just the shift in the cosmic scenery or the overwhelming beauty of what lay beyond the wormhole. There was an almost palpable presence in the air, something ancient and powerful, as though they had crossed into a realm ruled by forces much greater than their own. General Evelyn Hayes stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the unknown territory ahead. The galaxy around them was darker than anything they had seen in their space telescopes. Endless black voids dotted with brilliant stars, yet the silence was overwhelming. They were no longer in the familiar stretch of space where Earth and its colonies had once flourished. They were in a place far beyond their reach, far beyond anything they could have imagined. It didn't take long for the ether to encounter its first sign of life. A fleet of ships, alien in design and unlike anything humanity had ever conceived, appeared on the ship's sensors. The vessels were colossal, formed of shimmering alloys and pulsing with an energy that seemed to ripple through space itself. They didn't move like typical ships. They were more like entities, alive, almost. Before General Hayes could order a defensive stance, a communication signal blared through the ship's systems. The voice was not human, it was a symphony of harmonics, an alien language that vibrated deep in their bones. "Identify yourselves," the voice boomed, resonating in the air with an intensity that made the crew uneasy. Hayes's fingers tightened on the control panel, but she remained composed. This wasn't just an encounter with another species. This was something different. The voice wasn't just asking for a name, it was demanding one, as if the very concept of identity held unimaginable weight in this place. "We are Earth," Hayes replied carefully, her voice unwavering. "Humanity." The response came swiftly. The alien ships surrounding them shifted, their forms pulsing with light. A deep vibration resonated through the ether, and then, without warning, the ships accelerated. The crew braced themselves as they were pulled toward one of the colossal ships, its immense size dwarfing even the ether. A massive bay door opened, and the ether was drawn in, seemingly by an invisible force. The tension in the air was thick with anticipation. For all their preparation, nothing could have fully prepared them for this moment. Inside the ship, the environment was completely alien. The gravity was different, the air tinged with a strange energy that made the crew's hair stand on end. As the ether settled in the docking bay, the doors opened to reveal a figure, tall, draped in flowing robes of iridescent energy. Their form was not entirely solid, but instead seemed to flicker, like a being of pure energy, its shape shifting and reforming with every movement. General Hayes and her crew stood in awe, their eyes locked on the figure. It radiated power, ancient and incomprehensible. "I am Ilex," the figure intoned, its voice a blend of harmonic tones that echoed in their minds. "You have crossed into a domain that is not yours. Why have you come?" Hayes stepped forward, her military discipline overcoming the awe she felt. "We came to explore. We seek knowledge." Ilex's energy flickered, its form seeming to shimmer with recognition. "Knowledge? The folly of your kind." A wave of force washed over them, not in a physical sense, but in a mental one. It was as if their very thoughts were being probed, tested. "You do not understand the consequences of your presence here," Ilex continued. "You are not welcome. You are insignificant." Hayes stood firm, her resolve unshaken. "We've come this far because humanity does not back down. We will learn what we must, no matter the obstacles." A long silence followed, during which the crew exchanged wary glances. Was this their first and last interaction with an alien race? Was this the end of their journey? Ilex's form flickered once again, this time with an emotion that could only be described as curiosity. "Perhaps your spirit is as you say. But be warned, you have awakened forces far beyond your understanding. The galaxy does not welcome the uninvited." As the words echoed in their minds, the ether crew felt a chill, the sensation of being watched by something ancient, something beyond their comprehension. The galaxy was not a blank canvas to be explored at will, it was a web of powers that humans had yet to understand. Ilex faded into the ether, leaving behind a lingering presence. The ships surrounding the ether began to move, their energies aligning as though in response to an unseen command. The moment had passed, but the threat lingered, as did the question that haunted every member of the crew. What were they truly up against in this vast, unknown cosmos? The ether lingered in the heart of the alien ship, its crew uncomfortably aware of the oppressive energy that surrounded them. Ilexa's words echoed in their minds, leaving them unsettled. You are insignificant. The galaxy does not welcome the uninvited. It was clear that they had stumbled into a realm of unimaginable power, and the Nexar were not eager to entertain humanity's ambitions. General Hayes paced the deck of the ether, her mind racing. Their encounter with Ilex had left her with more questions than answers. The Nexar were not just another alien race. They were guardians of some cosmic order, wielding control over the forces of nature. If humanity was to survive, let alone conquer this vast cosmos, they would have to prove their worth. And Hayes knew the stakes could not be higher. As the ether sailed deeper into the heart of this alien domain, an unexpected signal broke through their communication systems, a sharp, high-frequency transmission, encrypted and urgent. It was a call for help. It seemed like a desperate plea from another ship, caught in the same alien web. Without hesitation, Hayes gave the order to trace the source. The crew's sensors locked onto the transmission, guiding them toward an uncharted star system just beyond the reach of Nexar patrols. The system was eerily quiet, its planets barren and uninhabited. But something was wrong. The Ether's crew sensed it as they drew closer, the remains of a fleet. Wreckage scattered across the cold void. Another ship lay in the midst of it all, its broken hull an unmistakable sign of devastation. General, said Commander Kai Lu, the ship's tactical officer, his voice laced with concern. This wreckage, it's not just debris. It looks deliberate. Like someone or something wanted this fleet destroyed. Hayes stared at the screen, her eyes narrowing. The Nexar were no strangers to destruction, but this felt different. The fleet was not a threat. They were explorers, just like the humans aboard the Ether. But in the cosmic scale of things, their mission had ended in catastrophic failure. The Ether approached the wreckage, the crew on high alert. As they drew closer, they found what was left of a ship that had been reduced to nothing more than smoldering metal. But then they saw it, a lone figure standing among the wreckage, a human, their form indistinct through the shattered viewports of the ruined vessel. Prepare a landing party, Hayes ordered. The landing bay doors hissed open, and a small team of explorers suited up to venture onto the barren landscape. As they boarded the transport shuttle, tension hung thick in the air. The crew could sense the danger, but they also understood the opportunity. A survivor, someone who had been to the edge of this strange, hostile domain, could provide invaluable insight into what lay ahead. The shuttle touched down gently on the remnants of the shattered ship. The crew disembarked, weapons in hand, and moved cautiously through the wreckage. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the faint hum of their breathing apparatuses and the occasional creak of metal underfoot. They found the survivor in the ship's control room, slumped over in a chair, their face gaunt and pale. He was still alive, barely. His name was Captain Orion Valen, and he had led a fleet of explorers into this very system, just months earlier. What had happened to his crew? What had driven them to the edge of extinction? Captain Valen, General Hayes called, kneeling beside him. What happened here? We came for you. We're not going to leave you behind. Valen's eyes flickered open, his pupils dilated with fear. The Nexar. He whispered, his voice ragged. They found us. They tore us apart. We underestimated them. Tell me everything, Hayes demanded. The captain struggled to sit up. We thought we could explore. But we were fools. The Nexar, they aren't just observers. They're protectors of the cosmos. If you cross them, they will destroy you. They have the power to bend reality. I don't know how, but I've seen it. I've felt it. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just about exploration anymore. The Nexar were more than just a powerful alien species, they were a force of nature, a cosmic order that would not tolerate intrusion. Valen continued, his voice growing weaker. You'll have to face them. They'll test you, make you prove that you deserve to exist here. If you don't, if you can't pass their trials, they'll eradicate you like they did to us. Like they've done to every other species who's tried to conquer the cosmos. His final words hung heavy in the air. The Nexar weren't just another threat in the galaxy. They were a force that tested the very will of the universe. And humanity, for all its determination, would have to face them, or face annihilation. General Hayes stood, her face set in grim determination. We're not running. We'll pass their trial. We'll prove that humanity belongs in this galaxy, no matter the cost. As the shuttle returned to the ether, the crew knew they were about to face the greatest trial of their existence. And the Nexar would not make it easy. The ether floated in the dark void of the uncharted system, its crew standing on the precipice of a challenge unlike any they had ever faced. The warnings of Captain Valen echoed in their minds, warnings of trials, tests that would decide whether humanity would have a place in the galaxy. There was no turning back. If they wanted to survive, they had no choice but to confront the Nexar. General Hayes stood on the bridge, her jaw set. The gravity of the situation was undeniable, but the one thing she knew for certain was that humanity's spirit could not be crushed. Not by the Nexar. Not by anyone. Status report, Hayes said, her voice cold but resolute. Commander Liu, the tactical officer, didn't hesitate. We've mapped the coordinates Valen provided. There's a planet just beyond the debris field, a world rich in resources and ancient structures. It's almost as if the Nexar have placed it there as a test. Then it's a test we'll pass, Hayes replied firmly. Prepare the crew. We're moving out. The ether glided through the debris field, carefully navigating the remnants of Captain Valen's fleet. As they neared the planet, a strange energy field enveloped the ship, its sensors flickering as they entered the atmosphere. The world was a desolate landscape, rocky, barren, and seemingly untouched by time. But the air buzzed with an unseen force, and every crew member could feel the weight of the Nexar's presence. The landing was smooth, though the moment the shuttle touched down, it became clear that the planet held secrets that were not meant to be uncovered. Strange symbols, alien runes, etched across the ground glowed faintly beneath their feet, as if the planet itself was alive and watching. The planet seemed to hum with a low frequency, something primal and unsettling. Stay alert, Hayes ordered. The Nexar will not make this easy. As they moved out of the shuttle, the crew found themselves in a wide, open valley. Towering monolithic structures stood like ancient sentinels, their surfaces etched with symbols that seemed to change when viewed from different angles. The air was thick, almost with purpose, as though the entire planet was alive, waiting for them to make their move. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the air shimmered. In an instant, they were no longer alone. From the shadows of the great monoliths emerged strange, ethereal figures, humanoid, but translucent, flickering in and out of existence. The figures were silent, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They didn't walk, they hovered above the ground, their forms seemingly made of pure energy, shifting like reflections on the surface of water. The crew instinctively raised their weapons, but Hayes quickly signaled for them to lower their arms. These weren't enemies, not yet. The figures were watching, waiting. Their purpose was unknown, but their presence felt like the test had already begun. One of the figures, the tallest and most defined, approached Hayes. It was an imposing presence, its energy radiating with a power beyond anything she had felt. The figure spoke, its voice like a chorus of voices blending together, its words coming not through sound, but directly into their minds. "You are here to prove your worth," the figure intoned. "The trial begins now. Fail, and your species will be erased. Succeed, and you may yet survive." A bright flash of light blinded the crew for a moment, and when their vision cleared, they were no longer standing on the barren world. Instead, they found themselves on the edge of a vast chasm, a bottomless abyss stretching out before them. The sky above them was dark, filled with swirling storm clouds that crackled with lightning. The air was thick with tension. "This is the trial of will," the figure said, its voice omnipresent, emanating from all directions. You will face your deepest fears and your greatest challenges. To pass, you must conquer them. Fail, and you will fall into the void. The ground beneath their feet trembled again, and the crew saw it, a massive, monstrous shape emerging from the darkness. It was an ancient beast, its form shrouded in shadow, with glowing eyes that burned with an unnatural hunger. The creature was massive, its form shifting in and out of focus like a living nightmare. Hayes's mind raced. This was no ordinary test. The Nexar weren't just testing their combat abilities, they were testing their minds, their spirits, their very essence. Could humanity overcome not only physical danger but the fear that lurked in the hearts of every living being? The creature growled, and the ground beneath them cracked. It lunged toward the crew with terrifying speed, its jaws opening wide to swallow them whole. Hayes reacted instantly, signaling for the crew to scatter. Fight! Defend the ship, she commanded. But it wasn't just physical strength that they needed to rely on. This was about overcoming the psychological weight of the test. They had to confront the creature within their minds as much as they did in the flesh. In that moment, the creature was not just a physical enemy, it was the embodiment of doubt, of fear. Every member of the crew had to fight against their own weaknesses, their own insecurities. Hayes gripped her weapon tightly, her heart pounding as she faced the beast. She knew that this trial wasn't about the creature, it was about standing firm in the face of the unknown, about showing that humanity's resolve could not be broken, no matter what. With a determined yell, she advanced toward the creature, her mind focused and clear. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about proving to the Nexar that humanity was strong, that they had the will to survive and conquer the challenges ahead. The beast's monstrous form faded, dissolving into the air like a wisp of smoke. The crew stood, panting, hearts racing. The terror that had gripped them moments ago still lingered in the air, but they had faced it. They had stood their ground. The Nexar had tested them, and they had proven their strength of will. But Hayes knew that this was just the beginning. There was more to come. The ground beneath them shuddered once more. A low rumble echoed through the landscape, like the world itself was awakening. The crew gathered together, their eyes scanning the shifting terrain. The once barren valley was now alive with an eerie glow, and before them stood a new trial, a vast, shimmering dome of energy that had materialized out of thin air. The air was thick with the feeling of anticipation. This is the trial of unity, the voice of the Nexar intoned, its presence overwhelming. The greatest of your species' strength lies not in your individual might, but in your ability to come together as one. You will face the challenge not alone, but as a team. Fail, and the divide between you will tear you apart. Succeed, and you may continue your journey. Without warning, the dome expanded, forming a vast arena in front of them, filled with obstacles that stretched beyond their sight. A labyrinth of energy barriers, shifting walls, and deadly traps. The team would need to work together, relying on each other's strengths and abilities. If even one member faltered, they would all fail. Hayes looked at her crew, their faces a mix of determination and uncertainty. She knew they had overcome individual fears, but this was something different. This would require trust. True unity. We've trained for this, she said, her voice steady. We have faced every trial together. We will face this one as well. Trust each other. Trust the team. With a unified nod, the crew advanced into the arena, their every step calculated and precise. The moment they entered, the dome activated, and they were confronted by the first of many challenges, a massive wall of shifting energy, its patterns unpredictable, threatening to engulf them with each move. Lou, as always, took the lead, his mind sharp and tactical. We need to synchronize our movements. One false step, and the wall will isolate us. We can't afford to split up. Hayes nodded. Everyone follow Lou's lead. Stay close, and move as one. The wall surged toward them with lightning speed. Lou reacted immediately, stepping forward and using his knowledge of the energy patterns to guide the group. His quick thinking and careful calculations ensured that each crew member could step forward just as the wall shifted. No one was left behind. They passed through the first challenge, but this was only the beginning. Ahead of them, a new trial emerged, an immense chasm, its depths impossibly dark, and a bridge of unstable energy stretching across it. It was clear that the bridge would only hold for a short time. "Here's where we need to move quickly," said Lieutenant Ortega, the ship's engineer. "I can stabilize the energy for a few seconds, but we need to cross as fast as possible." No hesitations. The crew moved forward with Ortega at the helm, her hands working swiftly to manipulate the unstable bridge. Every second counted, and Ortega's steady command kept them in sync. They crossed, one by one, their steps in perfect unison, pushing the limits of their speed. As they reached the other side, another challenge appeared, an arena filled with mirrored walls that reflected their every movement, creating a disorienting maze of infinite copies of themselves. "This is the hardest part," said Sergeant Duran, the ship's heavy weapons officer. "These mirrors aren't just showing us, they're showing our doubts. Our fears. We need to stay focused. We can't let the reflections fool us." Hayes, looking at her team, felt the weight of her words. This was the test of unity in its purest form. If even one person doubted themselves, the mirrors would turn them into an obstacle. The crew needed to trust one another completely. "Everyone, listen to me," Hayes said firmly. "The mirrors won't show us the truth. Only our unity will. Stay focused. Don't look for the easy way out. The real path is the one we make together." The team moved forward, step by step, the mirrored maze shifting and twisting around them. Each reflection was more tempting than the last, an easy path, a shortcut, a way out. But every time one of them wavered, the reflections became more distorted, more threatening. But they pushed through. They helped each other find the way. They moved as a single entity, a unit bound together not by rank or skill but by the unbreakable bond of trust. And then, as they reached the center of the maze, the mirrors shattered, disintegrating into nothingness. The dome around them faded, and they were once again standing in the open valley, breathless but victorious. The Nexar's voice filled the air, its tone somber yet acknowledging. "You have passed the trial of unity. You are not mere individuals, but a singular force, bound together by your strength and resolve. Your journey will continue." The crew stood in silence for a moment, the enormity of their success settling in. They had passed another test, but the weight of what lay ahead still hung in the air. They were no longer just explorers, they were a force to be reckoned with. And the Nexar would know it. General Hayes looked at her crew, her voice filled with pride. "We've proven our strength. We've proven our unity. Now let's show the galaxy what humanity can do." The Ether's engines roared to life as the crew prepared to face the next trial, whatever it might be. The crew of the Ether stood in the quiet aftermath of their victory, still processing the weight of the trial of unity. Their unity had been proven, and the Nexar's voice had acknowledged it, but Hayes could sense that something far greater was coming, something that would test them to their very core. The Nexar did not give challenges lightly, and this next trial would be unlike any they had faced before. The air grew heavy again, a shift in the atmosphere that signaled the arrival of another trial. The ground beneath them trembled as the barren landscape began to change. Towering, skeletal structures rose from the earth, their shadows casting an eerie pall across the valley. The sky darkened as strange, swirling clouds appeared above, casting a blood-red hue over everything. This was not a place for the faint-hearted. The trial of sacrifice, the Nexar's voice rang out, its tone cold and distant. "You have proven yourselves in will and unity. But to conquer the cosmos, you must show that you are willing to give up what is most precious to you. You will face a choice that will define your future." A sudden, sharp burst of light erupted from the ground before them, revealing a holographic projection of Earth, their home. It stood majestic and serene, yet the image soon flickered, warping into a nightmarish vision of a dying world. Cities burned, the oceans boiled, and the sky was choked with smoke. Earth was falling apart. Hayes clenched her fists as she watched the destruction unfold. Her heart ached for her home, but she forced herself to focus. The message was clear: this trial wasn't just about facing the inevitable, this trial was about the sacrifices they would have to make to save humanity. Make your choice, the Nexar intoned. One of you will have to remain behind. Only one will be allowed to return to the ether. The others will stay here, lost to time and space. Sacrifice yourself, and the rest will carry on. A cold chill ran down Hayes' spine as she turned to face her crew. They all stood in stunned silence, the weight of the decision bearing down on them. The air was thick with tension. No one spoke for a long while, each crew member grappling with the magnitude of the challenge. It was as if the world itself had frozen in place, each moment stretching out into eternity. Why? Duran's voice broke through the silence, his expression hard. Why must one of us be left behind? Why can't we all go back? The Nexar's voice answered, its tone a distant echo. Only through sacrifice can your species truly understand the value of life. Only through giving up what you hold most dear can you grasp the cost of this journey. A deep, uncomfortable silence followed. Each crew member felt the weight of the decision settling on their shoulders. If one person stayed behind, they would be stranded in this alien realm, forever separated from the rest. The ether could not return to collect them, not after the trial. The ship would continue without them. And there would be no way to communicate with the crew once they were gone. They would be lost. General Hayes' mind raced. She was the leader. The responsibility fell on her shoulders more than anyone else's. If one of her crew members had to stay behind, it should be her. But she couldn't make that decision for them. This wasn't just about her, it was about them, the team they had built, the family they had become. We don't have to do this, Ortega said, her voice barely above a whisper. We've faced everything together, and we can face this too. One of us will sacrifice for the others. No, Hayes said, her voice firm, though her heart wavered. We make this decision together. We are a team. The crew huddled together, and Hayes could see the conflict in their eyes. They all understood the gravity of the situation. Each person on this team was willing to give their life for the mission, for humanity. But no one was willing to be the one to say goodbye. In that moment, the decision came not from words, but from something deeper, a silent understanding between them all. They all had something to lose. They all had loved ones, homes, futures that they dreamed of. But humanity's survival was more important than any one individual. It always had been. Finally, Lou spoke, his voice steady and resolute. I volunteer. Everyone turned to him, shock and disbelief in their eyes. Lou, the tactical genius, the heart of their strategy, the one who had kept them alive through so many trials, he was offering to stay behind. I can't let any of you do this, he continued. I know this team. I know what we've built. And I know that if I stay behind, the rest of you can complete this mission. You will prove humanity's strength in ways that I can't. I'm the one who should stay. There was no protest. There were no more words to say. The choice was made. And yet, despite the silent agreement, there was still a profound sadness that gripped them all. They had faced every trial as a team, and now they would face the hardest test of all, the sacrifice of one of their own. Hayes approached Lou, her voice thick with emotion. You're a part of this crew, Lou. Always. This doesn't change who we are. Lou nodded, his face set in determination. It's what I've always known, Hayes. Humanity's greatest strength is in its ability to sacrifice, to put everything on the line for the greater good. I'm proud of all of you. Proud to be part of this. With a final, lingering look at his comrades, Lou stepped forward, and the holographic projection of Earth flickered one last time. The air hummed with energy, and in a blinding flash, Lou disappeared, leaving only his memories with the team. The crew stood in silence, the weight of the loss settling heavily on their hearts. But they had a mission to finish. They had to continue. For Lou. For humanity. As the Nexar's voice echoed, a hint of respect in its tone, you have learned the true cost of your journey. Proceed. You have earned your place in the cosmos. The Ether's engines roared to life, and the crew set their course, determined to carry on Lu's sacrifice in every step they took. The stars burned with the remnants of fallen empires. Where once the galaxy had been ruled by ancient civilizations, now only silence remained, except for the echoes of humanity's rise. Captain Alara Kincaid stood at the bridge of the Indomitable, her gaze fixed on the Imperial League's ruined capital world. The once mighty rulers of the galaxy had been overthrown, their great fleets shattered, their planets liberated, or conquered. Humanity had done the impossible. A voice crackled through the comms. Fleet Admiral Kincaid, the last of the League's strongholds has fallen. The galaxy is ours. She exhaled, feeling the weight of history settle on her shoulders. Humanity had always fought for survival, for freedom. But now, they stood at the precipice of something far greater, dominance. From the war-torn worlds of the Zenthrax to the now silent halls of the Etherian warlords, the message was clear: humanity was no longer a species of exiles. They were now the rulers of the cosmos. But the question remained, what kind of rulers would they be? A grand assembly was held on New Terra, the reborn capital of humanity. Representatives from the many species who had fought alongside the humans sat in awe as Kincaid stepped forward. The weight of 1,000 battles, of millions of lives lost, bore down on her. We were once scattered, she began, her voice steady. Broken. Forgotten. But we refused to die. We refused to accept the fate written for us by those who thought themselves gods. She looked across the sea of faces. Former enemies now stood as uneasy allies, waiting to see what kind of future humanity would forge. We are strong, but we are not tyrants. The galaxy has suffered under the rule of those who hoarded power for millennia. That ends today. A murmur spread through the assembly. Some feared that humanity would become the very thing they had fought against. Others believed they had earned the right to rule unchallenged. Then, Razor Valente stepped forward. The warrior who had once led death squads against humanity's enemies now stood beside Kincaid, his face hardened by war. We will not rule as the elders did, he declared. But make no mistake, we will not be weak. The days of humanity bowing to any power are over. The chamber erupted in cheers. Thus, the human empire of the stars was born. In the following years, humanity reshaped the galaxy. The old imperial systems were dismantled, their former subjects freed. But peace did not come easily. Remnants of the old regime's attempted rebellions, terrorist cells formed, and fractured warlords sought to carve out their own dominions. The newly formed Terran Armada, the most advanced fleet ever built, crushed these threats with ruthless efficiency. Humanity was not interested in endless war, but they would not hesitate to strike down those who threatened their rule. Among the stars, whispered rumors spread of Earth itself, once lost, now reborn. A planet transformed, rebuilt from the ashes of its destruction. Some called it a myth. Others knew the truth: Earth was now the heart of an empire unlike any before it. Kincaid, now Grand Marshal of the Terran Empire, knew the war was never truly over. There would always be new threats, new enemies. But humanity had proven its strength. As she gazed into the endless void, she knew one thing with certainty. The age of humanity had begun. And nothing in the universe would ever be the same.